Have you ever walked into a room and felt instant good vibes, but some other times something feels just off and you can't explain why? What if I told you there's one invisible force that's behind that feeling, and it's the number one thing that we check in Feng Shui? After doing countless Feng Shui audits on homes and offices, I can tell you the single most important factor, the one thing that makes or breaks the energy of the space, is this thing called Qi. And so in today's video, I'll explain what Qi is all about, how it works in Feng Shui, and 3 simple Qi checks that you can do right away to improve your home's energy. But first, to understand Qi, we need to start with a symbol you've probably seen somewhere before. It's one of the most famous ideas in Chinese wisdom. Today, let's make it simple. Take a look at your palm. Turn it around. Front and back is the same hand, just 2 different sides. They aren't good versus evil. Instead, think of them as 2 sides of the same coin. You need both to have a complete coin. In Chinese wisdom, this is called the yin-yang. They are not enemies, they're just 2 different forces that shape everything around us. It shows up everywhere in life. It's not about one being better than the other. When there's too much of one, things feel out of balance and it just feels off. The constant flow is Qi at work. What we want in Feng Shui is not just positive energy, but balanced energy. That's when Qi flows best and your life starts flowing too. Too much work and you burn out. Too much rest and you feel unproductive and stuck. And the goal? Balance. That's where life flows better. So, what does this have to do with Feng Shui? Everything. Because Qi, the invisible force that we are talking about today, is made up of these 2 forces. And this idea of balance is exactly what we need to finally understand what Qi is all about. Now, in the West, we say, if you can't explain it, you don't understand it. But in the Eastern wisdom, it's the opposite. If you can explain something perfectly with words, it probably isn't profound wisdom. And Qi happened to be one of those forces. But I'll do my best to explain. You might have seen Qi spelled this way or this way. They're all the same thing. You've definitely seen it in games and movies, where characters charge up this energy and throws out a fireball. They all come from the same idea, an invisible energy that connects and moves through everything. That's inspired by the idea of Qi. Now of course, you're not going to shoot energy beams from your hands. In Eastern culture, Qi is not science fiction. It's a real concept that shapes everything, from medicine, martial arts to Feng Shui and even your destiny. So what actually is this invisible force that they have been obsessed with for thousands of years? Now, the Chinese word for Qi literally means air, but it's so much more. Think of it as the energy of life, always flowing, always changing. In Taoist philosophy, before there was anything, there was nothing. And from that nothingness came Qi. It was the Big Bang that gave birth to the entire universe. In traditional Chinese medicine, Qi flows through your body. When it's blocked, you get sick. That's why acupuncture exists, to help clear the energy path and help your body heal. In martial arts like Tai Chi or Qigong, you train to control and strengthen your Qi, your internal power. And in Feng Shui, Qi is the energy of your space. It flows through your home, your office, the land beneath your feet. Feng Shui looks at the land just like a living person. Just like your body has acupuncture points, the land has them too. We call them long mai or dragon veins. These are Qi of the environment. That's why ancient Feng Shui masters studied mountains and rivers. And Qi doesn't just affect places, it affects people too. Ever met someone who walks into a room and the whole vibe changes? They have an aura that makes you feel inspired just by being near them. Or someone who gives you a negative feeling, even without saying a word. That's also Qi, the Qi of a person. We can feel it. And when a space or person has good Qi, life flows smoother. And in Feng Shui, our job is to find out how that Qi flows and where it gets blocked. So if Qi is flowing all around us, how can you tell if the energy in your own home is helping you or hurting you? Well, think of the Qi in your home like a river. When the river flows smoothly and gently, the water stays clean. It's full of life, and it helps all plants and animals around it grow. This is what we call 生气, living, vibrant, healthy energy. It's the feeling you get when you walk into a space and you just feel good. But what happens if you block that river with trash? The water stops flowing. It gets slow, dirty, and starts to feel bad. You know that heavy, stuffy feeling you get in a room that feels just off? That's blocked qi. Homes and offices feng shui are just like that. Qi is just like the river. And when something blocks or disturbs the flow, problems start to show up. In feng shui, we study how qi moves, just like watching how a river flows around rocks and mountains. Now when it comes to qi affecting your home, we look at two basic types. The kind that you can see and the kind that you can't. The first type is what I call the visible qi. This is the qi that you can see just by looking around your surroundings. The natural features like the mountains, rivers, roads. And then there are things like sharp edges pointing at your home, an abandoned broken down building right next door, or massive electric pylons towering over your roof. These are just some few examples that send out what we call 煞气, which means harsh, aggressive, harmful energy. Living near them is like getting hit by invisible arrows every day. The second type is a little trickier because you can't see it with your eyes. You need to calculate it, what I call the invisible qi. Think of it as Wi-Fi. It's hidden in the way your house is built, the way the stars move, the year energy, layout of the house, and many more. Different schools of feng shui look at it differently and have different ways to determine and calculate it. Sometimes, even if everything looks fine from the outside, the invisible qi inside can tell you a completely different story. But what happens when the bad energy you can see combines with the bad energy that you can't? Let's say your bedroom is facing a sharp corner from another building. That's visible 煞气. Then we do the calculations and realize that the same area is being hit by a hidden energy that can affect your health. Now you have both bad forms, one you can see and one you can't see, hitting you at the same time. Double whammy, isn't it? This combination is a major red flag in feng shui because it can amplify problems in your life if you ignore it. That's why a good feng shui reading doesn't just stop at looking around. We go deeper, like doctors checking both your heartbeat and your blood test results. When we find these issues early, we can fix them. Sometimes by moving furniture, sometimes by adjusting how you use a space. So as promised, here are 3 simple qi checks you can do right now to start improving your home's energy. First, how does your living room feel? Is it bright and positive? Or is it dark and gloomy? Now look around at the stuff. Is it crammed with too much furniture? Or is it filled with things that no longer serve a purpose but you can't bring yourself to throw them? Good qi needs light and space to breathe in this important area. The quick fix. Open your curtains and let the light in. It's not about it being airy, by the way, but more about being bright and positive here. And if the colors of your walls are dark and heavy, consider using colors that make it look brighter and more positive. Clear out anything that will make the room feel smaller than it really is. Make the space bigger. When you give the area some space to breathe, you'll find that you can breathe easier too. And speaking of clutter, the single most important place to clear is your front door. Ask yourself, what's the first feeling you get when you step through your front door? Do you come home after a long day's work and feel instantly happy and relieved when you are back? Or do you feel a little bit of stress from a pile of clutter? Think of your front door as the mouth of your home. It's where all the good nourishment, all the qi comes in. The quick fix. If it's cluttered, make clearing it your top priority. Create a clean, welcoming entrance. That I'm finally home kind of feeling. That's good feng shui in action. Third, when you are at home, what do you hear? Do you hear peace? Or do you hear the constant chatter from a crowded mall or the rush from a busy highway? That relentless, chaotic noise is a form of 煞气. You want your home to be a calm shelter, not a front row seat to chaos. Well, you don't need to live right in front of the mall to get the best discount. Invest in good sound blocking windows. And if you live in a high-rise apartment, choosing a higher floor can often help you rise above that harsh energy. These intersections and highways are some examples of bad qi from your external environment. But what if the area outside your home are filled with other negative forms such as sharp corners from buildings or road rushing towards your door? Then, even the best designed house, one with good invisible qi from all the feng shui calculations, will still struggle to attract the right energy. So watch this next video where I share some of the most common external features that might affect your family's luck and exactly what you can do about them.